Hey, welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Zach. I'm here with Coach Natalie and Coach Kelsey. And today we have a special episode. Natalie this weekend ran a marathon, 26.2 miles, and she crushed it. And so what we wanted to do was talk about her experience, not just running the race, but also training for the race, because this was her very first one. So excited to just interview you, Natalie, and kind of have a conversation about this. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to a client of the week. And this week it is Michael Portner. And I think this is probably his third time being client of the week. But the guy is just incredible. He's just incredible. The reason I wanted to select him, there's a lot of reasons, but I came in early the other day, and I went into the coach's office. It has a two-way mirror. I think most of our clients know that. Two-way mirror, so I can see out into the training floor. And Mike was down on his hands and knees with a disinfectant wipe, cleaning the rower, the track of the rower, on his hands and knees, wiping this thing down. And I was just that is so just remarkable for somebody to take that type of, I guess, pride in their just in their impact on the people that surround them, and really taking ownership, I guess. And it just stood out to me. And I mean, it's so fitting. I wouldn't expect any different from him, but the guy is so appreciative of all that we do. He's constantly telling me thank you for changing his life. And he's come such a long way. He started with not working out at all and smoking, and has made this transformation into just his health. And now he's got an Aura ring, and he's tracking his sleep, and just complete transformation. And it's just it's so cool to see. And I just love him. Love him. So you're client of the week again, Mike. Yeah. Congratulations.
Congrats, Mike.
Yeah. So, okay, Miss Natalie. Why did you run a marathon? Where did this even begin? You weren't a marathon runner, track athlete, growing up. You just decided, hey, I need something new, or what? How did it start?
It started when I played my last college tennis match. I'm not kidding when I say that I signed up the exact day that I lost my last college tennis match, because I finished that, and that had been my thing up until that point. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to train for now. I don't know when the next time I'm going to get to compete in anything is. And of course, there were people that were like, why don't you do something normal, join an adult basketball league or start pickleball? And they were giving me suggestions like that. And it was no, I need something a little bit tougher. I need something that I know I'm going to have to really buckle down and work for.
A challenge.
You
had to have a challenge.
I had to have a challenge.
Did you feel kind of lost after tennis?
Super lost.
That's your whole life?
Yes.
Years, decade of training for that, and then boom, it's over.
Yeah, it was Indianapolis, Indiana. There's not a whole lot to do out there. So my entire...
You don't say.
Yeah, exactly. My entire 4 years of college was I'd go to class, I'd go to the weight room, and then I'd play tennis for the rest of the day. And I'd go to sleep, and I'd repeat. And
sounds pretty great.
Yeah, it was super simple. But then when it was well, I don't have any matches coming up, anything to train for, it was wow, what do I do with my free time? This is so boring. So I knew
that was the spark.
It was a spark.
I think cow tipping is a sport in Indiana.
Is that
true? Yeah. Okay. You don't want to take up cow tipping. Okay. So you were I know, you know thyself. You were I need a challenge. I need something that's going to push me. And you weren't a runner. Tennis is you're doing short little sprints back and forth for a long period of time. You're probably not doing any type of long distance running to train for that.
Not at all.
So you picked something completely out of your element too.
Exactly.
It's impressive.
I'm a very routine person.
Okay.
I knew that if I didn't break that routine, that I'd probably just keep practicing tennis for no reason for the next couple years until I was oh, I broke all my strings. I guess I don't want to pay to get them restrung again. I'm done. So I had to just rip off the tape, just start something new and get out of my comfort zone for that.
Okay. And so walk us through the like, how did you start training for this? Was it just like, okay, I just know I need to go out and run, or did you come up with a plan? Was it strategic? Did you get a coach and a program? Like, what did you do?
I started talking to the strength coach that I had at Butler, who coached me for tennis, because he was a marathon runner, and he's one of my mentors, and he was training for a marathon as well. So he kind of outlined a program for me, but starting from ground zero with that, there were days in the beginning when I was like, oh, I have to run 7 miles today. That's a long run. And I got to August, at the end of August, beginning of September, and it was like, oh, I have 15, 16 miles today. That's like a middle distance run for me. Like, it's crazy how the progression over time, just the perspective of everything, looking big picture, how in the beginning it was like, man, I have 7 today. It's going to be tough. And it got all the way to the point where I was like, I have 22 miles today. I know it's going to take me about 2 hours or so, but I can get it done. Like, it's not going to be terrible.
I remember the past couple of weeks before you did your marathon, you came in and you're worked the whole morning, and then she's like, yeah, I got to run 22 miles later today. And I was like, quick question, Natalie. Do you run these 22 miles like straight, or do you kind of break it up throughout the day? She's like, oh, no, it's a straight run. I was like, that sounds awful.
So
we would
good
have
for you.
Clients
Good
that would
for you.
come in and be like, oh, I saw you running. And in my head, I was like, yeah, I mean, I was out there for about 3 hours on every single road in this area. So I'm sure there's multiple people who probably saw me
past their house
Yeah.
3 times. That in and of itself is impressive, but doing it after a shift is really impressive. So like you two were out of town last Friday, and Jolie and I were on the training floor, and we got done at noon, and I was like, I'm so smoked right now. I don't know, like, I can't do anything the rest of today. Like, I need to, I went in my office to like try to do some work. I was like, this isn't going to happen. I don't know. I'm just going to have to go home. It's Friday. I put in my time. So like, people tend to think because we're trainers, we're just standing around watching people, but it can be exhausting. And then to go and run after that is pretty hardcore. So, did you run 26 miles like in one chunk before the marathon? So that was that's the longest you've ever gone.
Yes.
Okay. What was the longest like in your training leading up to that?
22.
So 22 is like the highest. And then it was like, okay, I know for this event, I just have to put out like go and knock out the extra ones. I've heard marathon, like I'm not a runner. Kelsey, I don't take you as a runner.
Definitely not.
Okay. Kelsey's like, I'm gonna lift weights and that's about it.
That's about all I got.
So I've heard of people saying like they run it, like they hit a wall at some point, and then after they have to push through that, and then after they push through the wall, they feel like pretty good and they feel like they can keep going. Did you experience any of that?
I don't think I experienced hitting a wall, because on days that I would do these long runs, or on any of the days where I had mileage over 10, I was also trying, even if it just was going to the gym and doing band work, foam rolling, like sit-ups, something, I always tried to get a little bit extra in. I don't know if that did anything, but mentally I just convinced myself that, okay, I ran 22 miles, but then I could still go to the gym and have enough energy or stuff left in the tank to grind out a couple planks or something, just to push myself. And maybe it was just the mental aspect of doing that, but I didn't feel like at any point I hit a wall the minute I stopped running when I crossed the finish line. Like, I stood there and was like, my parents are over there. I'm trying to get there. Why can my legs not get me there? But as far as during the 26 miles that I was actively running, I never felt like I hit the wall where it was like, all right, I need to stop or anything like that. I felt pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought this up, because I wanted to ask about like your training routine leading up to this. So you had been, when you're playing tennis, like you're weight training every single day. How did your training routine change in order to, I guess, have the capacity really to run the marathon?
So when I first started out on the marathon program, I was still lifting back in Indianapolis with my strength coach. So everything was good there. I move out here, pretty big life adjustment, start this job, start classes. It's 117 degrees outside every day. I barely am getting my runs in, and then it's like all I want to do is go stare at a wall and like, what's going on? It was so hot. And
Are you running every day?
I'm running every day.
Okay.
Yeah. And it got to the point, it was actually, Zach brought it up that he suggested, why don't you start doing the workouts that our clients do to familiarize yourself with all of the movements, to know where they should be feeling it. And I started doing, I love the programming, so I started doing it, and it definitely improved me as a coach, but also like getting back into the routine of lifting on top of the running. Sure, there were some days that I maybe cut it a half mile short, a mile short from what was on the training plan. But I think that going and doing those workouts and lifting and adding that strength training, resistance training back into my schedule significantly helped my time. It helped my time, it helped my energy levels, it helped everything, because when it was 117 and I was doing those workouts or those runs, it was brutal. But as I kept pushing through and kept strength training with it, I felt like, as from an overall body composition, I was still able to hold on some of that strength and some of those fast twitch muscle fibers, even though I was running so much that I'm probably super slow twitch oriented right now. But at least I have some left, because I still was adding in that resistance training. And those workouts, as you guys all know, are not easy. So it definitely was a push for me. But I think that significantly helped not hitting that wall throughout those 26 miles and just keeping an overall body composition that's not, oh, I only run every day.
So were you strength training, like how many days a week were you strength training? And you're running every day, but like 7 days a week?
I took some
6?
Saturdays off.
Okay, so 6 days a week. And then how many days were you doing the strength training?
I was doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then on Saturdays would just kind of be like a
recovery
lighter
day. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're strength training 4 days a week and running long distance. Did you vary like your running distances throughout the week? Was it like, hey, this is a long run, this is a short run, this is a long run, short run?
I try to designate Wednesdays and Saturdays for my long runs, but towards the end of the program, it was like every day was a long run.
Long.
Yeah, it was like Mondays were my lightest days, and it was hitting 8 miles, and it was like, oh man, this is brutal.
What was like mentally throughout this whole process? What was the most challenging thing that you had to overcome?
I would say the weather conditions out here.
Okay.
It definitely, there were times when I would get really angry about stepping outside, and why does it feel like somebody has a hair dryer on my face this entire time? Like, why? And then there'd be like my roommates would, why don't you go run on the treadmill? Yeah, let me go run 22 miles on the treadmill. Let me know how that, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it started to cool off. It really helped how much everybody at this gym cared about this. Like, they all were insanely supportive throughout the training. They knew before I'd even said anything what day my marathon was. I swear in those last 4 miles, I was thinking about the clients that I work with here at Legacy, not letting them down, knowing that they all were going to be so excited to hear how it all went when I got back. And I couldn't walk in the gym and be like, yeah, at mile 21, I just decided to walk because it hurt. Because they do things that hurt every day, and it's inspiring, and I really appreciate how all of them supported me through this.
All right. So well, I want to know what your nutrition was, like how you ate in order to train for this, but then I also want to know what you ate when you were done.
Okay.
So let's start with the training component. Like, what did you do nutrition wise to make sure, like, that's a long time to sustain activity, 2-3 hours of running. So you obviously had to eat for that.
Mm-hmm. A lot of carbs, a lot of peanut butter, because I noticed that peanut butter would sit well in my stomach. It was challenging at first because coming from such a humid climate in Indiana and then coming out here, it was very dry heat, which would upset my stomach a lot. So throughout the training, longer runs out here when it was hotter, I really struggled to get anything like goos, chews, even like little pieces of candy down without feeling like I was going to get sick. So I would try and time it throughout the day. Like if I was at work that day, I would try and sneak off and like shove a protein bar down really quick. So I wasn't eating a big meal right before I'd go out and run after work. But as far as the actual race went, I took a goo every 5 miles. So about every 25 to 30 minutes, I tried to supplement with carbs. They're like 100-calorie packs. After I finished I got kind of grumpy towards the end of that marathon. I remember like at a few water stops, people were stopping to get water, and it was really aggravating me more than it probably should have that they were stopping in front of me. But afterwards, it was for like 30 minutes, I didn't have any appetite. And I was like, oh, this stinks. Like after a marathon, like this is the time to just go crazy. And then it hit me, and it was like I could have tipped over the refrigerator and eaten everything and the refrigerator. So
what did you have afterward?
We went to Texas Roadhouse.
Okay.
They were giving out for the people who finished the marathon in like a Boston qualifying time. They had free drinks for those people. So I had a few of those. But we went to
man. So you're like one beer and you're just like crushed.
Done.
I was.
Yeah, you're like
Acting
feeling
a fool
that.
at Texas Roadhouse. But yeah, I had.
Were you throwing peanuts at people?
We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
Probably couldn't count the amount of rolls that I took down after that.
That's my favorite part.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay, so you just like crushing it, and you couldn't fill up. You're just going down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you recover? How was recovery?
For about 24 hours after I finished the marathon, everything hurt. Like my traps hurt from being so uptight when I was running.
Wow.
Everything, like my whole body, it felt like I had the flu, kind of like I had just total soreness.
Okay.
At about 5 p.m. on Sunday night, I think maybe like all the food I'd consumed and the catching up on hydration had finally kicked in, and it was like a switch was flipped. Like I felt perfect. I woke up on Monday morning. My mom and dad were texting me like, hey, you okay? Like you're gonna, like, yeah, I actually feel perfect. Like I don't feel sore at all. Chafing, of course, like that's probably not gonna go away for a couple days.
Yikes.
But as far as muscle soreness, aches and pains, none of that. I'm really lucky that everything feels really good right now.
Your feet.
Oh yeah, I only have 6 toenails right now, but
six toenails total.
yeah.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang.
I
Feet
know.
are ruined.
Did you cry when you finished?
I didn't cry when I was like tearing up the last like 0.2 because it was just like something that I had been so excited to do. Like I feel like I put a lot of hard work mentally and physically into this, and it kind of just was like tears of joy. Like, oh my gosh, I did it! Like I did it.
Yeah, you're pride. That's pride.
Yes,
that's
like
pride from all the hard work you put in.
Right.
It's pretty awesome.
I was excited.
What was your goal time?
I wanted to finish under 3 hours and 10 minutes.
And what was your actual time?
3 hours and 8 minutes.
Woo!
Nice.
Yeah.
7 minute and 9 second pace?
I think it was 7:12 pace.
7:12 pace for
Yeah.
26.2 miles.
Correct.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. So my biggest takeaway from this is #no excuses. Natalie, what time do you wake up in the morning to get to work?
3:50.
You wake up at 3:50. You start you start at 4:45 a.m. You train clients 5 a.m. to noon, and then we have our team meeting. So you're out of here at 1. And then you have school.
Still in school.
3 days a week. And then you were finding time. You were making time to run 2 hours a day and lift weights
Yeah.
and do homework and be a rock star coach
Thank you.
And still eat.
and still eat.
Yeah.
And still eat. Like, no excuses. When you have a goal, and that's why it's so important sometimes to have something that you're just working towards, your next challenge. Because if you didn't have that, there's no way that you could just do that, right? But you have something that's really important to you that you set your mind to accomplishing, and you do whatever it takes to get that done. And that's a testament, right? So somebody, we hear from people all the time, they work 7 to 6 p.m. and they're like, oh, I don't have time to work out. Excuse me?
We got a 5 a.m. hour.
Yeah, exactly.
We got showers.
Right? Exactly. So it's if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse, right? So, Natalie, great job. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Very cool. Are you going to run another one?
I think I'm going to do an Ironman in August of 2025.
She goes from marathon to Ironman now.
Yeah.
Okay. 2025.
Yes.
So you got a year to train for that.
Yes.
Okay. Because you had to bike and swim on top of the marathon.
There's no pool here at Legacy.
I'm aware, yeah.
Psycho.
I got to teach myself to swim first. So that's goal number 1.
All right. Well, I wouldn't doubt you. I'm sure if you set your mind to do it, you can do it. So
Congrats, Natalie.
Thank you, guys.
nice work. We're proud of you. Thanks for
you.
representing Legacy. All right, guys. That was a fun episode. We wanted to interview her. We're proud of her and excited, and hopefully you're able to take something away from this. So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with more great stuff. Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.